Okay, welcome, Inappropriate Earl fans. This might be the hardest to get interview I've ever done in my life. It's literally taking 5 to 6 years to get this man, and I'm honored to have him. 1978, my two brothers, Jimmy and Andrew, took me to see a movie that is probably my favorite movie of all time, which is very strange because I'm not a surfer.
That's it. Yeah.
And I saw it at the National Theater in Westwood, which is now condominiums. And probably my favorite character in the movie was Waxer, played by the great Darrell Fetty, who is here today to talk about his not just Big Wednesday, but his amazing career. Thank you, Darrell, for joining.
Hey, Earl, I'm not that hard to get, am I?
You are. I mean,
Well,
but
I was traveling a lot in those last 5 years. I've been to Bucharest, South Africa, and deep in the heart of Mexico. So I was on locations for those three different locations. So yeah, I guess maybe
I
I've
mean,
not been available as much as I could be.
well, you're working beyond a working
Yeah, no,
actor.
I can't stop working. Can't stop working.
Well,
I gotta keep at it.
oh no, I mean it's great. This is a tough business to remain working in. So
Well, I've had to reinvent myself a number of times. I mean, I started out uh, before anything. I started out as a rock and roller back in West Virginia, back in the hills of West Virginia, and all the clubs and places in like a five-state area, and had bands and a few records and things like that. And I came out to Los Angeles to. I was also doing a lot of theater, but I came out to Los Angeles to get into acting and rock and roll. I
a-
actually did a TV pilot where I played a rock and roll star
and
at one during those years, but it never got picked up. It was for CBS and Universal, and guess what the name of it was?
oh,
It was called Friends.
oh my God.
Yeah,
Uh,
so we had the title first.
that's well, Friends was a TV show that did not test well. And
Well, ours did not test well, and well, it I don't even know if they tested it during those days. It was a Our show was basically a decision, a network decision, because there was another show they thought was too similar about rock and roll. And that was WKRP in Cincinnati. So they had a choice between me as a rock and roller, and it was me and Michael Tucci,
oh, of
if you know him from Greece and a
course.
lot of things. We played uh, we played rock and roll, a duo that had been a big hit when we were teenagers, and now we were in our 20s and basically washed up and trying to get a job at a record company. So the series was going to originate around uh, uh, a record company, and we were going to be staff songwriters, and so that was replaced though by WKRP in Cincinnati. That's the one that got picked up, and we didn't.
I
And
mean, yeah, I mean that was a
so,
great show. But
yeah,
I'm
I love that show. Great
well,
cast. Great cast.
and you were in room 222. I mean, I love that show.
Yeah, that was my first job, and I got that basically by lying. I said, they said, "Are you SAG?" And I said, well, "Yeah, of course." Then I immediately hustled. I was working in the mailroom and story department of American International Pictures, which was a little. It's kind of a legendary company. It's where Roger Corman got his start,
Right.
and Sam Arkoff, the mogul, was making all these biker movies and Vincent Price horror movies and beach. It started out as beach party movies and stuff like that. So I was working I started in the mailroom, and I was working in the story department. And so I made friends with a couple of lawyers, and when I finally got the audition for Room 222, I said, "Can you get me in the guild?" And he wrote a letter and got me in the guild. So that was nice.
And that's
But
back when getting in SAG was very hard. I mean, like,
yeah, it was. It was. You couldn't get into SAG unless you had a show, and you couldn't do a show unless you were SAG. So it was a real catch 22.
and then
But I kind of got around it, and kind of was off and running. I got an agent, and I did guest starred on Happy Days, and they as Frankie Molina, leader of the Dukes, and they wanted to make me a regular, and I thought this show's not going to last, but it did.
yeah,
But I always thought my future was in movies.
well, we're gonna. I mean, there's so many questions I want to ask about the facts of life and Happy Days, but like I said in the intro, my introduction to you was Big Wednesday, and part of me wanted to have you on because I still don't know why that's my favorite movie of all time because I'm not a surfer. But
Uh, well, it's a coming of age thing. It's a coming of age story, and it's about friendship, and it's about how we grow up, and those friendships evolve and change. And that was at the heart of Big Wednesday. Besides being about surfing, we, I came out. I was friends with Candy Clark, and a lot of I'd done Happy Days with Ron Cunningham,
Ron Howard,
on Howard. So I was trying to say Ron Cunningham, Ronnie Howard. And so I knew those guys, and so we thought Big Wednesday was going to be the seminal big breakout summer movie like American Graffiti had been,
right?
and it just, I guess, because it was a surfing movie, it did not. People did not jump on it in the Midwest and as much on the East Coast uh, as they have as they did in California, which it's become a huge cult hit. I've gone to quite a few um, revivals and um, surfing events where Big Wednesday is revered. And of course, John Milius was a surfer and writer director, legendary writer director, and he, this it was basically his life story. So
Oh, I mean,
there's a lot at the heart of that movie. It's not just a surfing movie and partying, although there was a lot of partying in the movie and a lot of fun. I
oh,
mean, I thought this was the way Hollywood was going to be. I was going to be, you know, on the beach with beautiful women and
yeah.
hell, and it was going to be like that forever. Turned out that was basically the one movie like that.
I mean, I think part of what I'm always a fan of casting and the character actors in movies, which to me make the movie. I mean, you can't have everyone be Tom Cruise or whoever, and just obviously the big three with Busey and William Cott and Jan Michael Vincent, who was like the Brad Pitt to me of our generation. I'm
Oh, they
50.
were, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jan was incredibly handsome. So was Billy Cat, and Busey was a maniac, as he still is. But I love him, and he's a champion. Busey. I to get ready for Big Wednesday, he had done. Um, I forget the name of the movie. It was a movie with the band Ronnie, the guitar player for the band. Anyway, he had done a movie where he was kind of overweight, and man, I was working out at Vince's gym,
Oh yeah.
yeah, on Ventura Boulevard, and Vince Gironda was the Iron Guru,
Yeah.
and he once when I got Busey to work out with me to start losing some of that weight, and man, he jumped in and dedicated himself to it, and I'm doing my weights and trying to get a little bit buff, as I was all the time in my acting years, my young acting years. I was always working out, but I could never get uh, the musculature of a bodybuilder. I got cut a little bit, but Busey jumped in, and man, he he gave it his all. Vince came up and he goes, "You know what, Fetty?" He said, "Busey is a champion." And of course, I was jealous, and I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "You're a distance runner." And you know what happened? I've gone the distance, and Busey's had his peaks, but I'm still here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I respect anyone in the business who like I mean, you're from room 222 to right now this interview. Like that's amazing that
Yeah,
um
I've been around a while,
as you know, this
and I'm
business.
still getting black eyes. Is this? You said this is being recorded. Is it just audio? Or is there
No,
video
it's
too?
video. It'll be up on YouTube.
Okay, so people will get to see my black eye.
You know,
I was
you
I was I was out with a young lady the other night, and she took a picture of us, and she cut out my black eye. She was embarrassed by it.
no, I
And
mean,
I said, no, I could tell. I was just defending your honor. What do you mean?
you, you look like
No, actually,
Waxer.
I got an elbow playing basketball, but
Well, you look
that's the story of my shiner.
no, I mean, you look just like Waxer from the party scene. So,
Not quite. Thanks, thanks.
well,
I'll take that.
well, it's
Yeah.
funny. I was dating a girl who she worked for a financial accountant for actors, and I'm in the office one day, and in walks Michael Talbot, who of course played the main party crasher, and
Yeah.
he just looks at me and goes, "Hey, nice to meet you, hog." He's like, "No, my name's Michael," and like he didn't get what I was doing, but which I don't blame him.
I have a story about Michael.
Oh, I would love to. Please, I'll be quiet.
No, no, you keep talking. But when you mentioned somebody like Michael Talbot, who had a really nice career, and played a lot of great characters from Miami Vice and
Yeah.
other films and other TV shows, but his part was supposed to be a little bigger. He
Oh,
came into that party as a party crasher, and Busey is supposed to clock him, and he did, and it knocked his face, and he had it broke his jaw, and he was a mess. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, Busey was really apologetic about it, but it was just a stunt gone awry, and poor Michael got knocked out of the movie, literally.
I mean, that party scene is one of my favorite. It's so well shot. I mean, to be I don't want to say a generic fight scene, but like to have Reb Brown and I think it was
Yeah,
Dan.
Reb's a great guy. He's a really terrific guy. That scene was shot on a sound stage at MGM, and we were there for over a week and a half. It was a fun time as filming that entire movie was. It was a party. The one damper that I remember was Jan Michael and Billy Cat coming in and going, "Man, we just heard some really bad news." He said, "What? What do you mean?" He goes, "Elvis died."
Oh wow.
And so that was that was during the making of Big Wednesday. And
Yeah, he was my
I
neighbor.
remember the party scene being filmed on a sound stage. I mean, the outside was like a Leave It to Beaver set on
Right.
at Warner Brothers back lot, uh, but the interior was all done in on a sound stage, so we could get me surfing the table and uh, Busey trying to cook himself in the oven.
I mean,
All those scenes.
and there's so many great I don't even like saying character actors because it might be a dismissive term, but like Freddy, the eventual Freddy Krueger, Robert England. Um,
Oh, Robert, terrific guy. Yeah, it was one of his first roles, and he was a quite a good working young actor at that time, and he was doing a lot of character roles at that time.
then
And then, of course, he ended up doing the ultimate character role of Freddy Krueger.
and then like the
It's Robert's voice. Robert is the one who's narrating Big Wednesday. Did you know that?
yeah, I did actually. And
Yeah, that's Robert England narrating Big Wednesday. He just had that sort of quintessential California surfer voice, and he was the best narrator for the job.
and of course, I was a fan of the TV show The Rookies, so to have Sam Melville basically be the Yoda of
Oh God, yeah. Sam was my best buddy, my best friend. He was like my big brother. We ended up having a rock band together at
oh
that time.
wow.
We had a he played bass. We had I brought when I did that rock and roll pilot, I brought out my guitar player from West Virginia, and we got some good players, and it was me and Sam and Sam's wife Annie Melville and Mark Singer, the Beastmaster,
Oh my
and
God.
and his wife Nani Min, and my wife at the time Caroline, and we called ourselves. My wife Carolyn and I had a store on Hollywood Boulevard on Sunset Boulevard called Cheap Thrills of Hollywood.
Right.
It was kind of a punk rock store, and it was right next to Schwab's before they tore that whole block down and built but we had that store, and she was definitely on the front line of stylish new wave clothing, and so she uh, always outfitted us all. But also, she got me this bowling shirt that said Lee, and I sang lead and played keyboards. So the name of and on the back of that bowling shirt said the Billner Splashers. I don't know where they are or what the town, but it was called the Billner Splashers. So we called ourselves Lee on keyboard, and the Billner Splashers. But my name became Lee on keyboard in that band, and it was a revolving group of actor. I mean, Bobby Carradine played with us. Keith Carradine, David Carradine. I played in a band with David, Keith, and Bobby. Um, we did a concert film called Carradine's in Concert, but they would come and play with us. The idea of my band was kind of like Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Was we did kind of soul rock, and it was like whoever showed up, and
Wow.
we played everything from Gazzari's to the Palomino Club to the whiskey, and we played a lot of places, and it was a kind of a novelty thing because we had, I mean, also Pamela, what was her name? She was Nancy Drew. She played bass.
Pamela Sue
Anyway,
Martin.
Pamela Sue Martin. She would sit in with us once in a while, and Michael Onkeen from the Rookies sat in a couple of times. So it was just whoever could show up, and we had a blast playing all around Hollywood and L.A. So
Oh, I mean, yeah, Sam Melville was, I still
anyway, there's that
cry.
story.
Uh,
Sam Melville. It was a
at that scene where Jan Michael Vincent is trying to talk him from leaving the cold, it was raining, and he said, "Come on home, Bear."
yeah,
Like, there's so many elements of Big
yeah.
Wednesday. It's almost,
No, it's
part comedy. Uh,
very emotional.
it really is, and even
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion in that movie.
your scene
And
where,
I die. I always used to joke. My best scene is when I'm dead.
well,
when Busey and Jan Michael and Billy are mourning my death and describing all the crazy shit that Waxer used to do. So that was always one of my favorite scenes. I go, well, that's my best scene. I'm not, I'm dead, but
It is very emotional, like
yeah.
but probably one of my favorite scenes, and when I used to work at a gym in Santa Monica, Frank McRae used to come in all the time, and
Oh God, yeah, Frank, gotta miss him. He was an incredible guy.
you guys had great chemistry in that scene where you're, I guess, pretending to be gay to get out of the draft,
I'm pretending to be gay to get out of the military. Yeah. At
and
that time, there was that policy. So, yeah, and he gets, I hope you brought your toothbrushes.
yeah.
Yeah, he was saying, okay, okay, you like men, then you're going to Vietnam and get in foxholes, and you'll be real close to men. Yeah, he was great. I have another story about that
Please do.
character. All right, the waxer who does everything he can to get out of the army, get out of the service. He ends up getting drafted, the only one drafted and sent on the front lines, and he dies in Vietnam. Uh, to prepare for Big Wednesday, um, I was friends with Milius because I entered, when I was working in story department and reading scripts, which is how I learned to write scripts. Uh, Milius had an office. He first of all he did Dillinger at AIP where I was working in at the time and recommending scripts. We just started talking and became friends. And then I told him one day I said, watch me on Happy Days. I'll be on Happy Days tonight. And he had Lucas and Spielberg over to his house and Lucas wanted to see Happy Days because he was wanting to see how much Happy Days had ripped off American Graffiti. So so they're at John's, and I come on as this big tough gang leader, which was nothing like what I normally my normal persona. And so that from that, Milius cast me in the Wind and Lion, which as Richard Drayton, and he had just finished. He had done that film uh, Dillinger,
Right.
and Richard Dreyfuss, played the part of Babyface Nelson, and he had originally written it for uh, Richard Dreyfuss, which is why the character was called Richard Drayton. So when Richard dropped out, Milius saw me on Happy Days, and with his buddies, with Spielberg and Lucas, and he ended up casting me the next day as Richard Drayton, and I got to go to Spain and do The Wind and the Lion.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
so
now, did you audition for any other role in Big Wednesday, or were you always going? Like, I could have seen you.
I never auditioned. I never auditioned for John Milius for anything. He always just cast me.
Oh, okay. Was Waxer the role
He
that you
cast me as
wanted?
the
Okay. Well,
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't even. I had read the script, and I knew that probably Dreyfuss was going to do it, so I just thought it had been cast, and then he got me in that, and then we maintained a friendship, and when Big Wednesday came up, he says, "You're playing Waxer. You're the
uh,
Midnight Waxer," and I go, "Okay." I was
uh,
not being from Balls Gap, West Virginia. I knew nothing about surfing, so this is a roundabout way of getting back to this story about that going Vietnam story. So to prepare for the movie, he got Warner Brothers to get him a big condo at County Line, the Malibu Estates, right down from Neptune's Net. You know where that is?
oh yes, I do.
And down below was an apartment. Now I was trying to learn to surf. So my wife and I, my first wife and I, Carol and I, who I got a job as being John's assistant, lived in an apartment below. So I was on the beach every day trying to learn to surf. And during that time, Mr. Francis Coppola came down to work on rewrites with John while we were getting ready to do Big Wednesday. But he came down to do rewrites on Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
and that's where they set up. And so I was the kid who was fetching clam chowder at Neptune's Net for these two geniuses to be working on Apocalypse Now. So
Oh,
I got a lot of good inside info, but the reason I bring it up is my part that I was going to do in Apocalypse Now was supposed to be the part Sam Bottoms played, the surfer who gets killed
oh yeah.
in Vietnam, so that the movies would have been tied together a little bit. So Waxer would have been killed in Apocalypse Now.
Oh, okay.
But
Um,
you
and
know, but Coppola had other ideas. Milius also pushed me for Han Solo and Star Wars, and Lucas had ideas because he knew Harrison better. So, these are two great parts that I missed during those years.
now, when Big Wednesday comes out in theaters, and uh, you know my love for the movie, but I guess it would be classified at the time as not doing well. Was
No,
there?
it didn't do nearly as well as we all thought it would. We were very disappointed. We thought it was, uh, we thought it was going to be a huge hit on the scale of American Graffiti at that time, and
I mean,
it's just,
it's got everything: great acting, a great story, and obviously with maybe the greatest surfer of all time, Jerry Lopez. So there's that for the surf
yeah.
fanatics. And like, was there I don't know, did you ever talk to Mr.
We
Milius about why do
had
you
the
think it?
bronze Dossies too. They were a surfing team from Australia,
Right, right.
and they doubled. Two of them doubled. One of them doubled Billy. One doubled. Uh, One doubled Busey.
Like, I'm a hockey fan, and like hockey movies don't do well in general, in terms of the mass appeal.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh, Slapshot was great.
Slapshot is
Remember that?
oh my God, it's one of the great it's one of the great
Oh my
sports
God,
movies.
Michael Onkine was amazing in that. Yeah,
Well,
Paul
I
Newman.
oh my God, and the of course the Hanson brothers, and I think Strother Martin has the
Oh
skit.
yeah, the Hanson brothers were hilarious.
They're still
Yeah,
working. Um, but I think
the Hanson brothers.
yeah, they I think one might have passed away, but they still do like all-star games and whatnot. But all right, so
Oh
let's
really? Cool.
transition. I could talk to you all day about Big Wednesday, but I also think your video work for MTV is how did you fall into that with like the Ramones and Jefferson Starship?
I answered an ad. Uh, I was writing, and uh, because of that pilot, I ended up writing my first screenplay. But to get stuff on film, I met this filmmaker, this MTV guy, Francis D'Elia, who was directing, and I would basically write scenarios. He directed uh, the Ramones and the Bangles and a lot of great groups of that era. And for no credit and just a little money, I started I started writing these little MTV scenarios. I later worked with Jeff Stein, who also incredible TV director who directed. He created the famous Alice in Wonderland Tom Petty video. He did videos uh, Bruce Springsteen, who gave him a car. He gave him a car called the Love Machine. In the middle of my second marriage, we had a renewal of our vows at Rene Russo's house, and in the middle of the minister saying these solemn vows and everything, well, I hear this big rumble, blah, blah, and it was it was Jeff Stein rolling up in the Love Machine, this big, you muscle car with, thunderous engine. So anyway, that was my experience with MTV, was working with Francis D'Elia and Jeff Stein, uncredited.
Do you
Mostly
remember?
my most of my relationship with Jeff Stein came later. We worked on several different things.
Uh,
We still have a couple of projects I'd love to get done.
oh,
He's a very talented guy.
and then let's of
And
course.
and Francis D'Elia and I ended up doing one of our first movies. We did Trouble Bound, which started out as a music video for the Blasters. There's a
Oh,
song the Blasters did called Trouble Bound, and we turned it into a feature film with Michael uh, with Patricia Arquette and hold on one second.
how cool is this?
Michael Madsen.
Oh,
I have
Michael
a poster.
Madsen.
Michael
Did,
Madsen and Billy Bob Thornton in one of his first roles as a minor character.
now, do you remember what video you worked with Jefferson Starship?
Yeah, the worst video in history. One of the worst rock and rolls. It's rated right up there as the worst rock and roll song in pop history. We built this city on rock and roll, which was immediately elevator music. I hated it. It wasn't my sensibilities at all, but it was a big hit. So, and now it's played in elevators everywhere. So
No.
we did kind of a generic video of that, lots of landscapes and cityscapes, and yeah. So that wasn't my favorite experience, but it seems to have lasted.
Yeah, I mean that video and song probably introduced that band to a new legion of younger people who
Oh yeah, it was after their hip days. It was much after that. But I did quite a few things in videos that I am proud of. But I don't I don't have any I don't have a writing credit because they didn't really have a writing credit.
well, I
You
mean,
just That's when everybody thought you were just making it up.
right.
So
Well, I always found it funny on MTV. It would give older bands like Jefferson Starship, and I've become odd friends at the dog park with Fee Waybill, the singer from the Tubes, and
right,
She's a Beauty was not their. That was almost the opposite of what the Tubes were about, but it became their
right,
biggest hit.
right.
But
Yep.
you also did a movie that I told you this before. My sister was involved in the wardrobe department, and it's another movie with a great cast called Freeway. Um,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. That was a fun movie. Richard Belzer, and we had a lot of fun on that. That again was um, my partner Francis D'Elia, who I started working with on his music videos, and we segued our video, the Blasters Trouble Bound, into a feature. We got that deal, and then uh, we were approached by Bill Panzer and Peter Davis to do Freeway. So we wrote that, and Francis directed it.
I mean, some of my
And
favorite.
your sister was a wardrobe personality.
Yes, and I remember her coming home going, "Yeah, I met this guy. I think he was in that surf movie you like. He said his name was Wonker." I'm like, "Waxer?" And I was like, "Give me an autograph picture, please." But what a great cast. I mean,
Funny.
James Russo, of course, the great Clint Howard, who's
Darlene Flugel, who was a beautiful actress and quite a talent, New
oh,
York
I loved her. And
lady, and who left us too soon.
no, I
Yeah.
was in one of my favorites. 2-season TV shows, Michael Mann's Crime Story. Um, and we're
Right.
and yeah, a lot of good people leave us too soon in this business. But
Yeah. Yeah. I just saw Tony Dennison Sunday.
oh, I mean that's Ray Luca, right?
Tony, yeah, Tony Luca. He's doing he wrote a TV pilot with a buddy of his, and we and had a script reading at the Whitefire Theater. I just saw him. It's great. I hope it gets picked up.
Well, I mean, what's funny, Crime Story to me is like the big Wednesday of TV shows. It's like, how did this not?
Oh, it was great. It was so great. And Jeff Stein, by the way, my MTV buddy, who I'm partnered with on a few scripts, I just saw him Sunday. He directed a lot of the crime stories.
Yeah, I mean it. I mean, you've been in this
He was
business, like it.
since the beginning, since they introduced talkies. Yeah.
But it's so strange to me how uh, movies, TV shows, some make it that are awful, and then others like Crime Story, Big Wednesday, or many other movies, just great cast, great writing. I mean, John Milius, anything he writes is like he can do no wrong to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. No.
Some just don't make.
You and Quentin Tarantino's favorite writer and
Yeah, I mean that's
film one of
what was
his
the
favorite filmmakers.
Spielberg and Lucas said John was the more talented writer. I mean, that's crazy when you hear that. Like,
Yeah, John was the writer. They called him for about their scripts. I was with John when Spielberg called him and says, we got this scene on the end on the boat, and they're comparing, scars, and can you give me something? And John dictated Robert Shaw's famous speech
God,
about the sharks and the Indianapolis over the phone to Steve. I mean, it was, and of course, I mean, I think Robert Shaw improvised a few things as well. It was truly they were creating it on the spot. But yeah, John did a lot of uncredited script polishes for his buddies.
yeah, I mean, my favorite war movie of all time, and you probably won't hear many people say this, but because it's usually Apocalypse Now or Platoon, but is Uncommon Valor, and he
Oh
goes
wow,
well, it's just it's along the lines of Big Wednesday in terms of the cast. You've got, I think it was Patrick Swayze's first movie, um, and the great Tex Cobb, who is good in anything. Um,
right.
and Gene Hackman, I mean, he could do no wrong to me. So,
I
yeah.
got a story about that.
Oh, I'll be
Uncommon
quiet,
Valor.
please.
Okay, Uncommon Valor was written by my second wife, Joyce Ingalls, actress model, who starred with Stallone in Paradise Alley and a bunch of other things. Uh, she starred with an actor named Wings Hauser. Do you know who he is?
He's in my
Besides
favorite.
being
He's
he's the father of the
Cole Hauser.
Yellowstone actor. Yeah, but Wings Hauser was and he did kind of a B action movie called Deadly Force with my second wife,
Oh,
and
wow.
he had a script that he had worked on with a young writer called in Asia. Youth in Asia.
I get it.
Yeah, and I took that script to my friend John Milius, who turned it into Uncommon Valor.
I
And
mean,
that's how that movie was made.
I just and Red Brown's in Uncommon Valor.
Yeah.
Just I mean, I'm a big
I'm
Wings
kind of
house.
like the Forrest. I'm kind of like the Forrest Gump of Hollywood.
You really
I
are.
was I was around when all this crazy stuff was going on. This iconic filmmaking, these iconic filmmaking moments. So I consider myself very lucky for a guy from Balls Gap, West Virginia,
like
to
the
come into
where's
Hollywood. And
where's Waldo as Darrell Fetty. Like you're everywhere.
yeah, yeah, I was everywhere.
I I
Didn't
mean,
didn't get the fame or the money that I thought I would, but I'm still here.
yeah, but you're iconic in my eyes, and
Oh shucks, thank you.
yeah.
I will quickly promote my latest opus.
But
It's the Gray House. Can I promote that?
oh
The
my
Gray
God,
House. Do you
you
know?
can do anything you'd like.
The Gray House is a story that I found with my partner Leslie Greif about three uh, women during the Civil War who were lived in Richmond and basically became spies and helped the Union win the war. And it's produced by Kevin Costner and who I did Hatfields and McCoys with, and Morgan Freeman and Laurie McCreary, and hopefully it'll be out at least by the first of the year. And I'm a co-writer with Leslie and John Sayles, and a co-creator and a co-producer, a co-executive producer, and I also have an acting role in it. So
Oh,
that's
great.
my latest thing. Yeah, I play a liberal newspaper man who gets killed.
Jeez, you get killed in all the good movies, man.
I used to get killed a lot on TV. I was doing guest starring on, the whatever the police show of the week was. I had to die a number of times. So
I mean,
yeah,
because just jumping back in your early days, I mean, Starsky and Hutch, Barnaby Jones,
yeah, I was the Las Vegas Strangler in Starsky and Hutch.
I mean, Chips, Knots Landing. I mean, you
Yeah, I was everywhere.
you were almost Han Solo. I mean, that's a pretty fucking cool resume, man.
Well, the almost don't count, but you know, that,
Um,
the other stuff did, yeah. So
well, I mean, Darrell, I know your time is valuable. You're um beyond honored to interview you. And where can people, do you have a social media site you direct?
no, I have someone who keeps threatening to set that up for me, so I might do that.
I mean,
Yeah, I'll probably set it up before this movie comes out or something. So
I mean, I would
in the
recommend
meantime,
I
they
would
they
recommend
can see me
Instagram.
on Earl on the Earl show. So
Well, I would be honored to have you at the Comedy Store one night. It's a late
oh, I'd
night.
love to come. I'd love to come. I
Uh,
haven't been to the Comedy Store in quite a few years. I mean, one of the last times was when Richard Belzer was still doing his stand up, and I introduced him to his his wife Harlan Bride, who was a friend of mine at that time. So
well, feel free to bring a lady friend the night you come. For me, I need a girlfriend, Darrell. So,
okay, I'll introduce you to any of my exes. My exes all married my guitar players. So
well, I don't play any instruments, but I'm funny. But
you go.
Darrell, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy, and you know, big Wednesday.
Earl, it's great talking to you. I really thank you for setting this up, and it was fun to reminisce. And uh, I'm glad you got I got a record of my black eye.
No, I
I'm
like
glad
it.
we got a visual record of it. So that's
You
good.
you look a
All
little
right,
bit.
buddy. Take it easy.
All right, Mr. Fetty. Thank you so much.
All right, take it easy. Bye.